Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Monday. And welcome to the day that we started the 21-day Surya Namaskar challenge. And welcome to all those awesome yogis and yoginis who have joined us on this awesome challenge. So good to see you guys here. It's magical, mythical, marvelous, magical Monday, and it's BRICE Day. Hello, Morné. Hello,
Hello.
BRICE. And well, guys, can you believe it? We have actually finally passed. We are on tablet number. So yeah, doing the fourth emerald tablet today with BRICE. So welcome to everybody. Thank you for joining us. So good to see you all. Yeah, again, Scott. Hello, Sharon. Hello, everybody. Good to see you all. Brycey, over to you. How are you doing?
I am so much better. We were talking off camera. I'm so sorry. Last week we missed Wednesday, and my nose is itching really bad, guys. And I was telling them you're gonna see me itch my nose a lot. I had a horrible ear issue last week, and I thought my runny nose was due to the lights. Apparently, when my nose gets bad, it's because of my ears. So I apologize if you see me itching my nose because they're connected. But I am so good. And yeah, we have so many people in the Signal group right now talking about the Sun Salutation Challenge within the 60-day challenge. I mean, I sent you, I think I sent you some messages every time I'd send a batch away, like of how many templates I'd send away. And if you're watching right now, you guys, and you didn't ask for the template and you want to jump in and start, it's never too late to start. Send me an email at shadowworkchallenge@gmail.com, and I will send you the template. No problem. We have somebody that just started the 60 days beginning a few days ago, and that's no problem too. You just do what works for you. It's your journey. We're just like the GPSs, but you're the one that's having the experience. So you do what works for you. And I know.
Sorry, Bryce, and I want to just add to that because I'm glad you brought that up. Even if there are people who haven't joined today it's actually 23 days, but it's 3 weeks. But I thought it would be good, especially since the first time we're doing this, to just give your body a rest in between the 36, and then we take a day rest, and then we go on the 72, take a day rest, and then we go on to the 108. So it's actually 23 days in total, but 21 days of yoga. So anyone who hasn't joined and would like to, guys, even if you start doing 3,
yeah,
just, it's just the fact that you getting up, showing up, even if you've never thought that anything like this is possible. I never thought about it until 3 months ago. And, just the idea just came into my mind, and I thought, okay, I've got to do this, see if this works. And while I was doing my first rotation, I then thought, no, I've got to put this out. This is very good, because I was seeing what was happening, And then I did 3 rotations, and wow. And I was halfway through the 4th, and then this one started. So I decided to, rather than finish that, start with you guys here this morning again on 36. I can't say I'm not sorry. I like 36. It's a very cool number to do, So yeah, it's really, really good. So if you guys still want to start, please let us know. We're on a Signal group. I'm sure, Morné, if you
I was about to say, we have a group in the 60-day shadow work Signal group, but Shanti also has her own Signal group. I know people are in both, but put that down below so they can, because some of you guys are like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm not, what's this? Just email me, get into Shanti's group, and it's super simple. We'll send you the template so you can, it's an instruction manual on what you're doing and how you're doing it, so you can have that experience with yourself. So absolutely. It's so exciting.
And the first one is posted on our solutions channel. So just the 36 rotation, which you don't have to do with me. You can do on your own if you like. It's really, you can do it on your own. You really don't need me to do it. All we're doing, it's such a transformative process. It's such a powerful transformative process. So I'm just guiding you through the process of doing it for 7 days of 36, and what happens when you do that. So now we're starting to shake, right? We're shaking the bottle, the oil in the water. So it's like dum, 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 right? 72, you're going to have different experiences. Now that stuff's come up, how do you start adjusting? How do you start making the changes? What do you need to do now? Because your spirit is talking, you know what you need to do. And this is often scary, right? So the lion, and then of course, when you come to the 108, you generally start getting the ideas and the understandings and the solutions and all of that. So it's a fantastic, beautiful, it really is the alchemy of yoga. You know, alchemy, and I don't do alchemy with ting toys and things. It's spiritual alchemy. It's the alchemy of spirit, and how yoga, for me, has enriched my spiritual journey, because it's the last thing I started to do. I only started doing yoga, I think I was 47 when I started doing yoga. So, and then it was just, but I did it deliberately as well, because I was a spiritual teacher for a long time. And then I wanted to take that energy into my body physically and really feel the physical benefits of what all this spiritual stuff is about, and really enjoy my body as the vessel for expressing that. And yoga has been such a phenomenal tool for me to do that. So that's why I have a great love for yoga. Bryce and I do things slightly differently. Whatever works for you, in my opinion, there are no wrongs and there are no rights. And I think just enjoy your life, enjoy your body, enjoy your experience, and whatever it is that you enjoy doing, if this knocks on the door of your heart ever so slightly, just do it. Even if you start by doing 6, 3, whatever, just do it.
And that's why I put so many different modalities in the Shadow Work Challenge anyway, because I want people, what's going to work for someone might not work for someone else. And so I wanted people to have that experience, to understand themselves better and their reactions to certain things as well. And it's so funny, I was just recording something for next week. Oh, but listen, Sharon, I tell my yoga students all the time, I know I've said it, ugly yoga is the best yoga. Pretty yoga is boring. So boring. If you want to watch pretty yoga, go watch Cirque du Soleil. Ugly yoga, that's interesting. That's where it's juicy. Right? And that's what I want people to, like, there's no, like, don't try to be pretty on your mat. When your practice gets pretty, that means we need to up the ante a little bit. That means that you've plateaued. You gotta, like, throw some more stuff in there and shake it up a little bit, because, you know, I tell, like, my teacher will laugh, be like, why shaking? Like, when your body's shaking, holding a posture, why shaking? You know, laughing. But when you're shaking, that's when it's interesting. Like, ooh, what's shaking loose? Like, what's coming up? You know?
And here's another one, Bob. I'm sorry, I'm loving this. Gotta just have this. I love it, guys. I love it. And I want to ask you guys a favor, just for yourselves, if not for me, because I'm going to ask you to post that. I'm going to actually post it on the group this week. Take either a little video or a picture of yourself just doing it, just as a memoir. Right? Because it is so amazing. And I love it, because some days, and that's why I say, you know, my routine is really, and it's quite a fast routine, although it's quite a basic one, right? So, but it's really just about press your pause button, lie there and puff and pant. Curse me if you need to. It's okay.
I mean, Chantelle, we're talking about bar, like how after all these years of yoga doing bar, and how your mom walked by was, you know, it's so fun. Listen, it is boring to go to a yoga class and to see a bunch of people in pretty Lululemon matching outfits with their hair done perfectly, makeup perfectly. That's boring. Give me the person that's got their yoga pants on inside out, mascara running down their face, Albert Einstein hair, dropping F-bombs in the corner of the room. That's interesting. That's the best seller. What's happening over there? Because that's where there's friction, right? So embrace it. Embrace the wobbliness of it. That's where, and even a very practical way, when you start to wobble in these postures, that's your body trying to find balance and strength. And so it's beautiful. Don't run from it. Allow the body the time, and the psyche and the mind and the emotions the time to actually evolve. And again, once it gets pretty, it's time to up it, because that's when you've reached a certain level of understanding, and now we got to up it, right? And my teacher, David Garrigue, one of my original teachers, used to always say, I think I've told this story before, but I'm going to reiterate because I want you guys to understand, Ashtanga yoga, The templates of Ashtanga yoga are crazy. Like the asanas are like leg behind the head, standing up with your leg behind the head, catching your ankles in a back bend, super crazy stuff. And in the Mysore room in Philadelphia, he would get these young girls in their like early 20s who were cheerleaders, gymnasts. You know, they were very physically able. And it would almost like kind of bore him. He'd be like, okay, next posture, whatever. But when that 60-year-old man would walk in who was overweight and couldn't touch his toes, oh my God, David would get so excited because now we have something to work with. Now we have some resistance, right? And that's beautiful. I used to practice with a guy who was an amputee who had a fake leg. And the first time David worked with this guy, David walked in, he was like, oh, like all of a sudden it was like a new puzzle to solve, a new, this guy had a fake leg for a long time, so it wasn't that big of a deal, but he was so excited to be able to work with somebody who had a limitation because it gave us that resistance. So anytime you're on your yoga mat doing anything in life, don't view the resistance as bad. It's actually a really good thing because that's the friction. That's that strike that's needed for you to open up that telenovela. There's, you know, we call them telenovelas because for those who are not from America or Mexico, a telenovela is a Mexican soap opera, right? And they're so dramatic. Like you don't even have to speak Spanish to watch it and enjoy it because it's just overacting. It's so dramatic. And your yoga mat, that's your own telenovela. Like there's not going to be any greater reality show than the one that's happening on your yoga mat. And so embrace.
Exactly. And start by doing Surya Namaskar. It's really just, I mean, if you just look at even the most advanced yoga practices, will always start with Surya Namaskar.
Yep.
So that's the way that you open your practice. And it's just, and you know, the repetition, and especially, you know, 36 is good. You'll see that as well. But then you get into the longer ones, and then the mind starts slowing down as the breath starts increasing. And then it just becomes this incredible meditative process. It's really beautiful. And
yeah,
it was
absolutely.
like some of the times, especially when I'm doing the 108, when I was doing like day 9 of 108, I would like tell a story with my feet. Yeah. Every count, because I'd count 44 meant something. What does 44 mean to my mind? Okay, cool. There we go. Step it out. 45, and I would rhyme it with what it meant. 45. Ooh, we're in a hive. What does that mean? Humanity is in a hive, right? And I could understand immediately just by in that hive consciousness. Okay, let's step that up. Thank you very much. 46. Ooh, it's getting full of tricks. You know, what are the tricky things we need to watch for? So that's, you know, as well how I would work it. Some days that would be great for me. Other days it would just be quiet. It is just so rewarding. And it's so not that daunting. Honestly, it is so not. Just start at the beginning. Anyway, we've now spoken a long time about that. I'm very excited. As you can see.
It's apropos because this is we're gonna get into again. And Thoth was the master of alchemy, right? Like that's basically one of the big themes of the third. Well, basically all 3 of the first tablets was like embrace the darkness, boo. Because that's only how you're going to be able to like really, and we're going to talk about that in the 4th tab. He's going to bring that up again. That your inheritance is the light, but you can't really understand that light until you've seen the darkness. You've seen the polarity of that, and that the darkness is only a veil that you can lift. And so this tablet 4, is not as long as tablet 3. I'm sure Thoth was like head in hand. It took us so long to get through that because it was just basically every verse was like, this is how not to be an asshole A, how not to be an asshole B, how not to be like, literally it was like teaching us how to human again. And then of course we got into the chakra system, more into the energetic body. And so again, just to recap, the first 2 tablets really are the who, what, where, when, and why of who Thoth is, where he came from, the fall of Atlantis, the halls of Amenti, life. The 3rd tablet, the keys of wisdom, were about how to work through this experience of being a human. And tablet 4, we're going to get back into the juicy stuff again about how Thoth himself woke up, if you want to use a modern term. You know, it took the red pill, understood himself, his own consciousness, you know, how not the red pill in like our life, but actually understood himself as a conscious being versus the limited ideas he had humans do tend to have about their own lives. And so this is called the Spaceborn. All right. And so we're going back to Doriel's translation. It starts off, it says, list ye, O man, to the voice of wisdom. List to the voice of Thoth the Atlantean. Freely I give to thee of my wisdom, gathered from the time and space of this cycle, master of mysteries, son of the morning, living forever a child of the light, shining with brightness, star of the morning, Thoth the teacher of man is of all. Long time ago, I in my childhood lay 'neath the stars on the long buried Atlantis, dreaming of mysteries far above men. Then in my heart grew there a great longing to conquer the pathway that led to the stars. Year after year, I sought after wisdom, seeking new knowledge, following the way until at last my soul, in great travail, broke from its bondage and bounded away. Free was I from the bondage of earthmen. Free from the body, I flashed through the night. Unlocked at last for me this star space. Free was I unto the bondage of the night. Now to the end of space sought I wisdom, far beyond the knowledge of finite men. Far into space my soul traveled freely, into infinity's circle of light. Strange, beyond knowledge, were some of the planets, great and gigantic, beyond the realms of men. Yet I found law in all of its beauty, working through and among them, as here among men, flashed forth my soul through infinity's beauty. In space I flew from my thoughts. Rested I here on a planet of beauty. Strains of harmony filled all the air. Shapes there were moving in order, great and majestic as stars in the night, mounting in harmony, ordered equilibrium, symbols of the cosmic, unlike unto law. And so we're going to stop right there after the first 4 verses, because I want to also say he's going to talk to you guys about, and we're going to get to that next verse, about our journey collectively. And we know, and Shani and I have talked about this a lot, my friend Cindy and I have talked about this a lot, this is a great big theme in yoga, that the body and the natural world in general, the planet, the trees, everything is an expression of the soul. It's an expression that we call the Shiva Shakti. It's a Shakti. And so even though your body is mortal and has an expiration date, the soul created it in its essence for you to understand matter so the soul can know itself. And so he's going to start to talk about that. He's going to talk about like how planets were created by the cosmic oneness of the soul. And he's going to talk about our ancestors. Brielle's going to bring up our cosmic ancestors that came here, actually who we were, to create this whole matrix system in order for us to understand, as Shanti says, what we're not, right? And so let's go back and look at Doriel's translation. He says, Thoth in this tablet gives us some of his own experience and search for wisdom. He also gives us a definite statement of his mastership. The breaking of his soul from bondage was the first projection of his consciousness. Through the developed power, Thoth was enabled to explore the mysteries of space and time. He explored other planets and ultimately reached the inner circle of light, the first dimension. And that's interesting too, because it seems like Doriel is saying, you know, we have this debate a lot, like what is time, what is space, what are planets? What does our planet look like? Are we interdimensional beings? Are extraterrestrials literally extra terrain coming from the same plane as us, just a different dimension? And so Doriel seems to kind of be saying in this translation that Thoth is saying that it's very interdimensional and that we travel through different dimensions, getting into the very first dimension, which is the core essence of consciousness. And so I thought that was something interesting. And I don't know. I mean, this is all just speculation because we won't know until we know for sure about what's, you know, about the more we learn, the less we know. Right. And so he's telling us this really great, grand, in an abstract idea. I think we can totally understand that in a very abstract way. As mortals, it's hard for us, for our brain to wrap itself around that. But our soul, our intuition kind of understands this idea of different dimensions of reality. If you're someone like us, I think the 3 of us have the gift of being able to see stuff that other people can't see. I know for RH negatives, we have different shaped eyes, which allow us, they call it astigmatism. It's not, you just see light differently. So you're seeing interdimensional beings, angels, demons, ghosts, whatever you want to call them. You're seeing things that other people can't see, but there doesn't mean they're not there. So is that it's just something interesting that Doriel talks about. The planet of beauty was one of the 7 inner planets which surrounded the cosmic consciousness in the first dimension. The shapes moving in order were the globular bodies of the illuminated ones. Thoth was able to go into all solar systems and see different degrees of development reached on the planet closest and furthermost from the sun. By men are designated those forms of life, activated by consciousness though their forms were seldom that of earth men. So again, we're getting into this idea of the Shiva and the Shakti. So our collective, we've heard Thoth say this a lot, like you're not separate from each other. You see yourself as separate, but you're part of the whole. And your cosmic consciousness, soul, did this intentionally. Fragmented itself. We hear from these survivors, we hear a lot about the fragmentation, right? We did that consciously to ourselves in order to experience aloneness, separateness, in order to experience turmoil. And he even says that after going through travail, after Thoth went through his own shadow work, his own journey of understanding limitations, was he then able to break through the bondage of the mind? He calls it bondage of the body, but I'm going to say that's referencing really to the thoughts of the mind. Not necessarily the body as a whole. The body is just the avatar of the Shakti, but it's the mind. We see that a lot with even doctors will tell you that people in emergency room situations, regardless of what religion they are, the ones that have faith and pray heal faster than people who don't. And regardless of whether that's because there is a spiritual being or because it's the projection of the mind, we're going to talk about that later on. The prayer is what's keeping people healing faster, the belief they can heal. And so they do.
The hope, right?
The hope.
Isn't that what prayer gives us? And isn't that what God is for us, really, or Jesus? Let's because what you're saying now is it's really making me think, because isn't that religion? I'm not only talking Christianity. I think any spiritual practice, really, or especially a dedicated kind of practice, it gives you faith and therefore hope. Yeah. So as long as you have hope, there's a reason to carry on. Let's look at the pit of despair, which is one of the elements is hopelessness, right? Or helplessness. I think it's pretty much one of the same things, hopeless and helpless, right? Would be one of those things that if people don't have it, I mean, that's where crime soars. That's where just disgusting things happen, right? When there's not hope. So it's very interesting that, the faith with the hope, because I think it's the hope, which I think links into the whole spiritual practice, religion, whatever that might be. There's a God up there who's going to save my soul.
Right. And I think, that's that drishti. Ram Dass calls it a drishti, like where you're keeping your focal point in order to actually look back within yourself. And there's a great line, and we're going to talk about it. It's actually from the Newsies musical, not movie, where they say when a prayer becomes a vow. And I love that line so much. When a prayer becomes a vow, when you are praying, especially when there's something you are consistently praying for, it becomes a vow. When you're praying to heal, when you're praying to whatever it is, to find a good job, and you're over and over and over again, you're praying, oh, dear Heavenly Father, Mother, Krishna, Buddha, whatever it is you pray to, like, I'm putting this in your hands to find the right job, and you're saying that over and over again, that becomes a vow that you're making that you want this. And so that's why it comes back to you. We've talked about that with the laws in the Emerald Tablet, the laws of attraction, the laws of vibration. How I just love that line, when a prayer becomes a vow. So when you pray, think about how serious that is. You're putting a vow out there into the universe. And so if your prayer is for healing, you're vowing to heal. And how beautiful is that? Yeah. Like, that's so, you're taking control of that, and it works. And so we see this with Thoth, with this idea of, he's saying everything that the Vedic texts say. Like, we were like, as a soul group, we were like, you know what? We're getting kind of bored. We're bored of the pretty yoga, so we're going to fragment ourselves and create these planets and create these bodies, and we're going to do some ugly yoga because we want to know more about the depths of our wisdom, right? It's like, what's that saying? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. When you're able to understand the darkness, you love the light. And when there is no, it's just like, I'm sure we all know people in our lives who've gone through a lot of hardships in their life. They've seen a lot of pain and turmoil. And usually those people can be some of the kindest, most compassionate, most empathetic people you'll ever meet, because they've really seen darkness. And so therefore they understand the power of kindness. And then there are people who've had very comfortable lives, and like one little thing will go wrong and they'll freak out, right? And so sometimes when we embrace this resistance that our soul created for itself, it's for us to understand the depths of what that is not, of what that resistance is not, And so I think that's just so beautiful. So he goes on to say, now this is interesting. Doriel says this, and I looked this up, you guys. I looked this up, and the only thing I could get this. I thought this was so funny. The only thing I could find on this group of people these group of beings he's gonna talk about was a video game for kids. And the video game basically is saying the same thing Dorel is saying here, which I thought was super interesting. Like, are they telling us the truth in video games too? He says the conquerors of the ether were the dwellers of Antares, the same race that had come to Earth in past 8 ages. So these are our ancestors. They had solved the secrecy of interplanetary travel ages ago, where they were the most enlightened ones of their solar system. Matter and form were theirs to command. What we were just saying about the Shiva and Shakti, matter and form. So it starts with you. And we talk a lot about like manifesting and creating stuff and all that kind of stuff. But the first thing you have to understand before you can do all that is that you did that yourself with your own body. You already created your body. You took everything you needed. You know, you have your father and you have your mother, and you have this like plethora of DNA from both sides of the family, and you specifically picked what you needed in order to give you the experience that you needed in order for your soul to refine itself, right? And so that's what they're saying here. You commanded the matter. Your soul commanded that to create what it needed to create. And from the matter and forms were there to command, and from the universal mother, they were able to create anything they desired. Talking about the universal mother, we see that with the Sophia code, right? The creatrix, because that's the female energy, is the holder of creation, right? So he mentioned that. Doriel's mentioning that. So it's the female energy that gives the womb of creation. Thoth learned that man was universal, existing in every part of space, and an integral part of the cosmic consciousness. And that's the thing. I keep reiterating this on we are the storm. You are the white hats. You think you're just here to like be a passerby? You are a part of the cosmic consciousness. You are a very valuable part of every individual is. And so and Sean Stone, Oliver Stone's son, I've done a few shows with him. He has a whole series where he talks about he's just like he's awake, he's a seeker, I'll say, like we are. That if you watch movies, the way the director manipulates a story creates a tunnel of consciousness. So the bad guys know how powerful you are. They totally understand that each and every person watching right now is a part of the greater whole and is a creator. And so they create stimulations, they create events in order to direct that consciousness and where they want it to go for their own desires. So the minute you realize
that's and I want to just sorry to interrupt you, because that's kind of goes in line with what our viewers who've watched Jesse's shows, when we look at these programs at the kids, especially the hierarchy kids, the Elons and the Jessies and some of the Rothschilds and have been put into. I think the first one is Star Wars now is the second. The Voice of God's the third. The Looking Glass. So Looking Glass, Star Wars now, Voice of God, and they would literally have groups of kids working in union with each other. Some understanding the events, the probable outcome, the changes. Will it happen? So they had to have the kids all working together, seeing a similar thing, and therefore creating that. That's where, when we're looking at things like The Simpsons and the other one, South Park, when they're always predicting these future events, when you see the future events on there, that's where it's come from. And that's, by the way, how they weaponize. When we talk about weaponizing our children, that's how they do it. It's not necessarily having avatars and killing people. It's these children are weaponized for their spiritual gifts, and through the gateway experience enhanced, and so they use it to their own nefarious abilities. It's not that it's the energy is evil.
No, they're manipulating it.
It's the way that the energy is manipulated. Energy is energy. You're going to use it one way or the other. Very interesting.
So isn't that crazy? Like if you actually just said no,
Exactly.
you foil their plans. Like that's the thing is like you and I just that's what drives me crazy when I see people in this community saying, "Oh, I'm just waiting for the white hats," or "I'm waiting." You are the white hat. Like you, if you're sitting around and waiting, you're gonna be waiting forever because it's you, boo. It's you. Like you're the main character of this story. Like you're the one. And like think about it. Think about and bless, as we say in the South, bless their hearts, bless their little hearts. These controllers, they've tried so damn hard. A for effort, but we still woke up anyway, right? Like that's just, you know, and that's what we were saying before, and at least we all look cute doing it, you know, like they don't look so cute, right? So you have that power to say, you know what? You can I find it comical watching the news now. I'm like, this is like a sitcom, you know, it's like the, you know, and so you can you can control where you put your energy. You can control where you're, and they do go for the low. I mean, that's one thing Jesse taught me that I'm so grateful for. You know, we look at parts of ourselves, we have these different vibratory levels of ourselves, and we have parts of ourselves that are really high vibrational, the love, the compassion, the unconditional giving, all that kind of stuff. But we have these other elements of ourselves, which we call our shadow work, which is the jealousy, the betrayal, whatever it is, for every person, the abandonment, the fear. And for us as pure beings, we want to take those things and use them to work on them, to heal them. But what the bad guys will do is they can't match the vibratory level of the highest good. So they have to come in and hit us where they can match us, and that's the fear, that's low. And so that's where they go in. And so I say every night, I revoke permission. I revoke whatever permission you think you have to use my wounds against me. And that's not for you. You can't use that anymore. I revoke for any permission you think you have. Those are holy, sacred wounds that are for me to work through, and they are not for you to manipulate. And so the minute you start to understand that, knowledge is power and knowledge protects. And so you start to be able to take your power back. And we can see it, right? Those of us who were aware what was going on, we'll just say the summer of 2020, we'll just say when we had lots of parades. I don't know what words it starts with an RIOTS, but parades all across the United States. Very, very jubilant parades. And all of us were sitting back going, what the hell are these people doing? It's all fake. You know, it's all fake. With that guy up in, I think it was Minnesota, you know, like this isn't real. It's all a simulation. Like we're able to see that now, but you saw from other humans that are on this journey with you, regardless of whether you don't like them or not, they're here with you and agreed to come here with you. You're seeing them being manipulated because the dark ones understand that we have empathy, we have compassion, and so they can hit us where it hurts and then manipulate that side of us that is empathic. And so the minute you see that, you go, you know what? I don't want to play this game anymore. I'm good. You know, I'm going to control my own energy, where my own energy flows. And for everyone doing, you know, that's the great thing about this sun salutation challenge, the shadow work challenge. You're taking that energy that they've manipulated and you're saying, nope, I'm going to redirect and I'm going to use it for what it's supposed to be used for, to heal myself. And so how powerful is that? Like that's why you're the storm. That's why I keep saying you're the storm. Because your vibration is changing. You're taking that part of that. You're part of the cosmic consciousness, and you're course correcting. So powerful. He goes on to say the form of man, so far as its materiality was concerned, was one of the basic matter of the stars. So our DNA. This is going to get interesting because the next verse, there's something in the next verse that I was like, ding, ding, ding. This is what I've been saying. As planets revolve around the sun, so the material body of man revolves around its central sun, the soul. When one has freed his consciousness from the darkness of disorder, he becomes one of these masters who works upon the negative from the outside. Man's body is formed from the primal substance, cosmic dust, and the ether in which the planet floats is also cosmic dust. So at this point, I'm going to go back to Thoth, what Thoth is saying, because science has worked so hard. Bless their hearts, bless their little hearts. They have worked so hard to convince us that we came from monkeys, that we are earthbound, that the 10 missing tribes of Israel were from Jacob. No, my friends. We are all galactic beings. We are all, even the dogs, the cats, the birds, our DNA comes from the matter of the ether. which is a big thing in Tartaria too, right? They talk a lot about the ether, how ether, that's very special. So you yourself, even in your physical body, your soul created from the dust of the cosmos. These are, you have 12 DNA strands, 10 are inactive. That's the 10 missing tribes of Israel, my friends. It's not somewhere outside of you. It's in you. They call it junk DNA. Listen, the God I believe in doesn't make junk, right? So there's value here. Now he goes on, so Thoth now says, many of the stars I passed in my journey, many of the races of men on their worlds. And I underline this because if you're a black person, you're not black because you're from Africa. If you're a white person, you're not white because your ancestors were from Europe. This is the dominant of whatever galactic system you come from. So what, like the Syrians are, I believe, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, like black people, the Surya star system, which is a very, very powerful star system. White people, Palladians, Lyrans, there's all sorts of different DNA within you. We all carry bits and pieces of every star galactic system within whether you're a white person, black person, Asian person.
That's the dormant strands. That's the current dormant strands. And the thing is, until we realize we are one, those strands are not going to reconnect. That fundamentally, and it's not going to happen after we've all come together as one. No. It happens as a result of us remembering and recalling on a spiritual level, so to speak, who we are and that we are one. And as those strands reconnect, it's like little plugs, like a plug being plugged back into its socket. It starts working again, right? So that starts happening more and more in the entire body. So not just with your ancestral lineage or bloodline, but also with how you remember that your body is designed to heal itself. How you remember who you are in past lives. You can see auras. You can telepath with people. That sort of thing. So it really just becomes, you just become this upgraded version of yourself. It doesn't mean you're not going to fly off into the high heavens and go and land on planet Zeus somewhere and live happily ever after because now you've transcended Earth.
No, you're becoming more
transcend.
No. Yeah, we're not trying to get off this planet. We're trying to take it back.
Well, really, when we look at Earth really, which is why it's such a popular planet for the warmongers, because of its rich its resources. Okay, we understand that the first thing they do is they want to dig up our gold and our diamonds and our mining and stuff like that. The first thing they like is our resources, but also, it's where we get to experience our karma. So Earth has come together. She's a culmination of energies which has come together to form this planet, and probably destroyed at least twice before, destructed, and has come back together again. I think this is the third time. Makes sense. Third dimension, right? Yeah. That she offers us a home where we can experience the lessons that Earth has to offer in her current composite, if you will. So that's third dimensional awareness. So we are all learning together on this planet. And remember, she carries our consciousness. Yeah. So the more we dig her up and neglect, it's a sign of us neglecting and digging, ourselves really. So that's what it is. And we ourselves, as we raise our frequency, we don't zoom off in a spaceship somewhere else. So that does sound very awesome and very romantic, but I wish it on some level it did. But all that really happens is we transmute our energy. So now instead of being locked into someone on third dimension, fighting and carrying on and blaming each other, brum, 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 you now raise your frequency and it's like you lift. Now this heavier relationship connection, it's like it's like a lead fist trying to grab onto a cloud. It can't. It looks beautiful at once, but it can't. Yeah. So that's what happens. So then the murders won't affect you. It's like we kind of split timelines, maybe like the 4D and the 3, 4D positive, 4D negative, so then we can either then go into like what we experience, a lot of us are experiencing now is 4D positive or negative, where people are really experiencing hell on earth on so many levels. So that really is what Earth provides us, all the different dimensions in which we can experience that in our human bodies. So we're not going anywhere. So guys, we're stuck with each other for a while.
And that's the thing, you guys, like, too, if you look at it from the cosmology of Earth, and if you look, again, darkness can't create anything. It can only mimic or steal and invert.
Yeah.
So if you like do a DNA test, you're going to see like strands from all over the planet. It's not really from the planet. It's showing you all the different galactic star systems that you have in your DNA. So just because I'm a white person, I still have African strands, which is from the planet Sirius in me, even though I'm predominantly Lyran or Palladian, so if you look at it that way, we're all each other's cousins, literally. But our DNA is coming from the cosmos. And so he's saying Thoth is like going on this like road trip around the cosmos. And he's like, oh, look, there's where black people come from. There's where white people come from. There's the blue people. There's the Asian people. And then we all came together. And that, my friends, is what makes Earth so effing powerful. I want everybody to understand this. There is no greater place to be than planet Earth, because we, Earthlings, are the descendants of every cosmic. I mean, we're everything. And so, and God and God's and Mother Sophia, creatrix in their infinite glory, there's a Native American, I'm paraphrasing, there's a Native American story about how every lineage of person on this earth carries specific gifts. And if we learn to work together, then we become each other's brothers and sisters. But if we learn to work apart, we go into total destruction. And so how cool is it that, the Lyran planet, the Pleiades, the Surya, all the Arcturians, all have these different talents. And then boom, they came together with the Anunnaki for Atlantis and created us, where we are everything. We are all of them together. And so within our DNA, the fact that we get to be Earthlings in this life and have this DNA that has everything in it, talk about Harry Potter, we're going to be zooming. We have so much stuff that we can do for ourselves and that's why when you read the Law of One or the Cassiopean board, they talk about all of these other off-worlders literally tailgating and watching humanity right now because they're so proud of us, because we are their children. We are of them, and they want to protect us because we are more powerful than we know. And it's like my dog who's a rescue from India, he has the ability to jump really high, but he hasn't figured that out yet. And we don't want him to figure that out because we don't want him to be able to jump a fence. Although he's very codependent. So if he did jump a fence, he would turn around and come right back. But the other day he started to jump and it was like, oh shoot, he's figuring out that he has the ability to jump really high. Think about that. So he had no idea that he could do this. And that's I look at that with our family that aren't on Earth, and they're watching us as the Hathor material says, they're watching us with great curiosity. I used this example before, everybody watching right now has probably been around a toddler, a baby. And when babies are so fun, well, first of all, toddlers, in my opinion, are just like drunk adults. You can't understand what they're saying. They spit on themselves. They fall over. They're just like drunk adults. But when they start to figure things out, when a baby a small baby starts to see its own hands, it starts to figure out its own hands, and then puts its foot in its mouth and starts to figure out its foot, and then starts to recognize different shapes and colors and starts to recognize their siblings. And so all of a sudden when they see their brother or sister, their face lights up and they have that. That's so beautiful to watch that. So think about all of our guides, all of our other, Thoth himself, watching us with this great curiosity, okay, when are they going to figure it out? When are they going to figure it out that they're the show, that they're the powerful ones? And as we start to figure it out, which I think we are, how proud of us is God? How to be there they go, they're finally getting it, that they can do these things. And so that's what's so beautiful. He goes on to say, each and all of them struggling upward, gaining heights and plumbing the depths, moving at times in realms of brightness, living through darkness, gaining the light. Living through, so that's the whole shadow work, right? Living through darkness, gaining the light. Gaining it. You can't go around the forest, you got to go through it, right? Know, O man, that light is thine heritage. Known the darkness is only a veil. Sealed in thine heart is the brightest eternal, waiting the moment of freedom to conquer, waiting to rend the veil of the night. So the power's in you, boo. That's what he's saying. Your inheritance is the light. The darkness is only a veil. It's only going to go away, though, when you figure that out. It's all you, boo. It's all you. Some I find who had conquered the ether, free of space, while they were all men, using the force that is the foundation of all things, far in space, constructed they a planet, drawn by the forces and flows through all, condensing, coalescing the ether into forms that grew as they willed, outstripping in science, they of all races, mighty in wisdom, sons of the stars. So again, he's pointing to this idea of race. It's almost like Thoth knew, because I think in the Atlantean times we understood this about our DNA. I think we understood it. So it's almost like Thoth knew or had a premonition that they were going to try to use race to divide us, to make us scared and fearful. So he keeps reminding us. Again, he says, tripping in science, all races, mighty in wisdom, sons of the stars. All races are from the cosmos. All of them.
Of course
we
they
are each other's brothers and sisters, right? And we are.
Can't be another way. Can't be another way.
Can't be another way. We are like, it's like, in two families, when a husband and a wife or a woman and a man have a baby, that baby is the culmination of the two families genetically. Like we are the shared grandchildren of all of these constellations. Whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're brown, whatever, blue, we are all each other's cousins. We share the same grandparents. We share the same lineage. All of us do. And that's incredible. Long time I paused watching their wisdom. So Thoth is like going on this road trip to all these different planets, like watching them. What is their wisdom? What can I learn from this culture? What can I learn from what they do? Saw them create from out of the ether cities gigantic of rose and gold, formed forth from the primal element, base of all matter, the ether far flung. Far in the past they had conquered the ether, freed themselves from the bondage of toil, formed in their minds only a picture, and swiftly created it grew. Right? So again, they're creating. We were already free of the bondage, and then we said, you know what will be fun? Let's create some bondage. It's like we have these panic rooms in the United States. I'm sure they're in other countries as well, where you can go into these rooms and you're given like a clue to get yourself out of it. And you have to go. So you put yourself into these rooms and you're given a timeline and you have to find the clues to unlock the door. That's what our souls basically did. They're like, this will be fun. This will be interesting.
It's part of the illusion of separation, Definitely part of the whole illusion of separation, of forgetting that everything is within. So we're running around first forever looking for the external stuff, because that's third dimensional, right? It's part of that. And really to come to the point that, oh my goodness, after all this time, we've been there, and only to realize, like the alchemist, that gold is right at home.
It's just, I know we've talked about it before, but if you guys, literally, Paulo Coelho's book, The Alchemist, titled The Alchemist. It's one of those, and he goes on that adventure to Egypt to find his treasure, and he gets to the pyramids after he's gone through all these lessons, and he goes, oh shit, it's back at home. I gotta go back to Spain, and so isn't that the journey, the hero's journey, though? You go through all these tribulations and trials trying to find something that's never left you to begin with. It's always been there.
But hasn't the journey been so exciting? It's like saying, well, I'm not going on holiday because I'm coming home anyway. So why would I want to go when I've got to come home anyway? Right? So let's rather go on holiday and come home and have, all these beautiful experiences are really just these enriching times. So, again, it lends to the fact that we've had to go through the negative. We can't think that it's bad. So instead of thinking that it's bad for one moment, rather let's look at it and go, okay, what did I gain through that? What did that teach me? What did that teach? You know, I've spent really most of my adult life going back and doing that. And, you know, from as trivial little things as to things that happen at school or in the hostel, things you don't even think about. And when you go back then, you realize how tiny things actually have affected and molded us. It's important to be able to go back and realize, okay, that situation was not true to who I am. How do I relook or shuffle or fix within myself or whatever, you know? So everything, every bad thing is really a good thing in disguise.
Yeah. And I will say, talking about the holiday stuff, there's actually a line, and I'm paraphrasing it. I can't remember exactly how it's said in The Alchemist, where he's all upset because he had to take this journey when literally everything was back at home anyway. And then God goes, yeah, but weren't the pyramids beautiful?
Exactly.
Yeah. Wasn't it beautiful?
Exactly. Wasn't it wonderful to be there? You know, it's rather like saying, I mean, you'd rather live your life, and when you 80 or 90 or 100 and you're lying in your hospital bed and they're about to switch off your oxygen machine or whatever, you know, and you go, wow, that was such a cool ride. My gosh, I really broke my ankles and legs and knees and everything a few times. Man, I'd rather have that than not having tried it at all. You know, we're gonna exit the earth at some point anyway, so we may as well do it in a healthy, strong body, in my opinion, and enjoying the experiences that our life has to offer and making use of opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. That's like, it's like Alan Watts, when somebody asked Alan Watts, what's the point of life? He said, to be alive. It's
and have fun.
Be alive. Yeah. I think of that when I think about what images are going to pop into my head when I'm down on my deathbed, and I just think about sitting on a scooter going through the mean streets of India with all the noises and the sound and the freedom of feeling that smog going through your hair and all the experience. You know, it's just that's what it is. The smells. It's not how big or fat your bank account is. It's not. It's those memories of rescuing dogs, of getting into the tunnels and picking the puppies up, and of being with my teacher in this room full of sweat. And I always laugh. In India, there are two temperatures: windows open, windows closed. That's it. And the main shala, like the front of the room, the ceiling's low, and in the back of the room, it's really high. It's like a very high ceiling. And so he calls small one, which a small one would be a woman, or unfortunately an Asian man. that's his small one. So to come up front, it's about 6 feet high up front. But it gets so hot in that room that if you're practicing under that area, the condensation of the sweat drips on you constantly. So you're like sitting there thinking, oh God, somebody's sweat is on me. But to have that memory of like, well, at least I experienced that. I went there and I did that, you know, and that's, and my true self was always there all along, you know, practically. We don't need yoga. Practically, we don't need Tai Chi. Practically, we don't need, because it's already there anyway, but we have to go on that journey to find it. And so
it's not, the experience, because that's what you see. Only on Earth do we get to have bodies. It's only this planet. And I can tell you from a lot of spirits I've connected with, they come to Earth because they love the experience of having a body, even though the body is very limiting for some and can be very frustrating, especially when a spirit is obviously coming down and having its human experience. It's like, oh my God.
Like a straight jacket you can put to a straight one fluid. Exactly.
But when we start learning how to use our bodies and enjoy them, and you know, so many people have this idea that, you know, your body's temporary and there's a pill for everything. I mean, I feel bad for people who think like that. You know, I've spoken a few times. I mean, listening to a guy a few years ago who was a quadriplegic and who spoke about how, and he had a car accident. So he spoke about how he really, if he could have his life over, how he would enjoy his body and never made use of that opportunity. And I tell you, that has always stuck with me because I really enjoy the fact that I've got a strong, healthy body. And if you're in pain or if you're sick or if you constantly low on energy, or you can't enjoy life. You can't enjoy life. And you can't enjoy, and your body is the only vehicle you have, so it's really good to enjoy this life, realize spirit radiates from us, realize we are manifestation of our spirit, and rock this life. No one says it's going to be easy. You're going to fall off the slide, you're going to fall off the swing, you're going to crash and burn, but you get up and you go within and you do what you need to rise up again. And it's what really, Bryce, what really I think these Lucy's have such an issue with is our tenacity. They've tried on so many levels to destroy the human element, the human spirit, and steal it and do whatever. But the human being has such a beautiful creative energy. We have the ability to create and recreate ourselves over and over and over again. We have the tenacity of nothing else. And that's also why, they would want to come and destroy us and steal and usurp, because they want what we don't have, they want what they think they don't have. And they see us as us having it. But all they've done is they've just really shut that door down. They've forgotten. They're still experiencing separation, and they're believing that they don't. That's why do you think the Luciferians hate God so much, or Jesus? Why do you think? They are cursing the thing that they know is going to give them their salvation, their true salvation. And they are so hating on themselves for not feeling and experiencing that they want to destroy everyone else and everything else because they have it, and this individual thinks that he or she doesn't. So the minute we open our hearts and realize that God has never abandoned us, even Lucifer, God has never abandoned anyone, right? So that's where we need to find our recognition, is realize that we are experiencing, very important word, the illusion of separation. We're not separate. We just experience the illusion.
And isn't that what you're saying too? Because they take things that they think are important messages and they invert them. And even with the teachings of Yahshua, he came here to teach you how to do it yourself, how to save yourself.
Save yourself. Yeah.
They twisted it to make you think you need him to save you. So they do that, to keep you separate. And that's the projection, right? We know that people project their darkest, dirtiest things onto other people. That's really coming from them. And so that's their illusion of separateness. And
Exactly.
and the law of one, the raw material, they talk about the dark ones, the service to self versus service to others. And they're very indifferent about it. It's just very much like, well, that's their path. This is your path. You make a choice. The soul's never ending. And so people, eventually the service to self path ends because they can't go any further. So they just have to kind of come back and do it again until they figure, it's all about, and Yahshua says in the missing books of the Bible about the soul just keeps coming back until it figures it out. Like it's no big deal. And so it's interesting because we get so, I love it. I quote you a lot, Shanti. Like you talk about the drama of it all. We get so caught up in the drama of it all, but it's really very simple. It's really very simple. You are that. You already have the Holy Spirit in you. You're already this cosmic consciousness that's so important that the literal cabal would try to shut down the whole fucking world to derail you. Like that's how powerful. I want everybody to think about that for a second. That's how powerful you are. The controllers, the Lucys, literally shut the whole planet down to stop you. The whole planet. Like come on, you guys. Like that's how powerful you are, and that resilience, that tenacity, that needing. Every time we fall, I had a conversation with a student yesterday about falling over in like a headstand. And it's like, you're going to fall sometimes, but guess what? Your body knows how to fall. It knows how to fall. You know how to fall, and you know how to get back up again. We were talking right before we went on about doctor stuff, and Morné was talking about his nose, and I was going to say when I was a child, I had an injury to my ankle, and I was at the doctor. I was in high school. I was at the doctor, and they took an x-ray of my leg, and I had these scars on my shin that indicated my shin had broken in two at some point in my life. And the doctor goes, oh, I see you've broken your leg before. And I looked at my mom, and my mom looked at me. I'll never forget it. This was when I was like 15, 16 years old. No, I've never broken my leg. And the doctor was like, yes, you have. There's a scar here. You broke your leg in two. It's right here. You have a scar. And my mother all of a sudden started freaking out. The doctor was like, oh, no, this happens sometimes. He's like, sometimes babies break their bones and the parents don't know. They cry a little bit and they get up and they're fine and the bone will reset itself. You know, we talk about the self-healing. My bone had reset itself, you know, and that's how powerful your body is. That's how powerful your conscience, when that prayer becomes a vow, you can heal yourself. You can do all these things because you are not broken to begin with. You're not separate to begin. You're already whole.
Simply imbalanced. You're simply imbalanced. You haven't balanced yourself properly. Dis-ease. The body's in dis-ease. Dis-ease. We need to bring in the balance. That's all.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, we've got to obviously go and see what is keeping us imbalanced. So the way to create balance is to see what's causing the imbalance to begin with.
Yeah.
Which leg and the other when you look at that? I always talk about the human being with the four legs of the table.
Yeah.
You know, spiritual, emotional, mental, physical. 25, 25, 25, 25 makes up 100. Where are you balanced, imbalanced? Which leg is shorter than the other? Simple. Let's go work with that. And
absolutely.
That's pretty much, yeah.
And I think that's a good time, a good place to hold it for today. I think we can finish it up next week.
Yes. Perfect.
So, and that's perfect. I think it's perfect timing for the sun salutations because that's literally what Tablet, even though Thought's giving you his like recap of his road trip that he took around the cosmos when he was an Earthling, it really does work well with the sun salutation challenge of what he's telling you, what he's learning from all of his experience. So anyway, so yes, again, for people, I've got Doriel's copy right here. I've had that question a lot about there are so many different translations of the commentary of the Emerald Tablets. This is just what I'm using. You pick whatever resonates with you. I always think get multiple commentaries, multiple translations, so you can see every person's perspective. So anyway, but yeah, this is the copy I'm using for this one. So, but get the one that works for you guys for your translation.
Yeah, indeed. I think it's wonderful. So that means we are pretty much almost on time today, which is a wonder, but a good one. And we have had a wonderful Monday with BRICE and Morné and me. And I want to just say thank you to everyone for joining us and loving these the tablets. I have to say the wisdom coming through. I think it's just so important at this time, so prevalent at this time as well. It's about applying it and, you know, seeing how to get our own balance. Really, things are knocking us off center right now. It's up to us to find our balance. And you know what, guys, it's always, you know, I wanted to say this as well. We talk, and myself included, right? Talk about us and them. You know, let's never forget there is actually no separation between us and them. You know, these are brothers and our sisters who've lost their way, who are experiencing their contrast right now. We can never forget that. It's not one and you know, some of us are good and some of us are bad and let's nail them and what have you, you know. I say, yes, let's expose what's going on. And people need to be accountable for their actions. Absolutely. That's really, really important. But let us always remember that in order for us to grow, we need the dark. We need our contrast. We need our shadow. They represent our shadow. These evilies or whatever, reptilians or whatever the heck it is. I've never seen one. I mean, this is all hearsay, right? So whatever, you know, these beings represent our shadow self. Let's think about what emotions they bring up in us. Why do they make us angry? Why do they make us angry? They make us angry because they're so cruel and vicious and so unfeeling. They are robbers and stealers. They're greedy, whatever the case might be, right? Okay, let's talk about greed. Greed comes from fear of not having, right? So when you see that, and then you understand when someone's greedy, their fear of not having is so huge that they have to hoard and hold and keep and gather and whatever so that their cupboard is full. And we can see that on many, many different scales, you know. Let's look at what Lucifer himself represents: money, power, greed, fame, right? All of the things that we think as human beings, we have to find outside of ourselves to give us joy. So now here we have the beautiful Beyoncés and Katy Perrys of the world that are showing how fearful they really are of not being beautiful, of not having money, of not being rich in their spirit. Because to do the stuff that you are doing, if you are doing that sort of stuff, that is so against the essence of who you are. And the crueler that someone is, you got to know that's deeper their own pain lies.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying we've now got to say, okay, free them all. I'm just saying this because I think we is judgment. So, and that's the one thing Jesus taught us not to do and be, is judgmental, right? So we can only stop judging others when we stop judging ourselves. So let's understand what these people are showing us about ourselves. And in that way, we set ourselves free. Remember, Jesus talks about coming here to set the captive souls free. These are the captive souls. These are brothers and sisters that have lost their way in these pit of despair, where it's agony and pain and hopelessness. And in order to mask that, that's what they do. Now, does it make it right? No, not in my opinion, no. But for them, it's right. For me, it's not. So it depends where you're at, right? So let's lose the judgment. Let's just send love, prayers, all of these things. And then we are able to also do God's work on earth. It's not just about going there and digging up the trenches and running around rescuing children and flying helicopters and, stuff like that. This is the work. It's us talking. It's us sharing. It's us forgiving. It's us realizing that we are brothers and sisters and we are in one heck of a experience of expansion right now. This is all in the name of expansion of consciousness.
And what you're saying that too, I'm thinking too about all the people who threaten, the fundamentalists who threaten me, who harass me. That's showing their own, and I've said that before, that's just showing their own fear of their own salvation. I'm not afraid. I'm fine. That's their own behavior. That's their own fears being projected. And that's such a good thing to remember. But yeah, absolutely. And that's, like I said, the law of one is very indifferent too. It's it's just your journey. It's where you are. And so yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm excited to keep moving forward.
Yeah. And those of you who still want to join the Surya Namaskar 21-day yoga challenge with me on Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa alongside BRICE's 60-day shadow work challenge. And after this comes fasting. I mean, hello. How nice. But yes, so we started today. It's not too late to start. You are still welcome to start. I know in America it's still early morning for you. So any of you, especially any of you Americans that still want to start today, we started the 21-day Surya Namaskar yoga challenge. So anyone else, let me know. I think Morné did put the link for my
put the links in the description. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Challenge and the yoga challenge and the 60-day challenge, all the links are in the description.
Perfect. Yay, guys. God bless you all. Take good care of yourselves. We'll see you back. I will have Alice Parola on tomorrow, guys. Very, 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 very important lady to watch. She's had suffered from the bipolar personality. Family, daughters, just such an amazing, beautiful, revealing story about a family and how, mental health is such a stigma and how we get through it and how family, and I think there are so many people with issues like that. So we have Alice Parola tomorrow and then Jessie on Wednesday And I'll let you guys know offhand. And Bryce again, obviously on Wednesday as well. But the Sophia code. Bryce has been a bit sick lately, everybody. So that's why you see.
That's where I was. I was doing my ear.
Okay, but we should be back on Wednesday.
I'm excited. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Love you all. Take care.
Everybody.
Cheers, everybody.